Thanks, Wolf. There is damage control, and then there is Rand Paul. Not my words, but those of a senior Republican I talked to today about the candidate who at the moment is driving much of America's political debate. We can all agree Dr. Paul is different and candid. From there, though, the debate and the divide begins. And it is about more than one candidate, about more than just one of the 36 Senate races to be decided this big midterm election year. It is a debate and a divide about the agenda of the Tea Party and the image of the Republican Party. Both are happy to talk about shrinking the size and the reach of government. But some of what Dr. Paul says about laws protecting minorities and the disabled makes them a little nervous. Today, he added a new wrinkle when asked by ABC about the Gulf of Mexico oil spill.
What I don't like from the president's administration is this sort of, I'll put my boot heel on the throat of BP. I think that sounds really un-American in his criticism of business.
Dr. Paul defeated the Republican establishment's candidate to win that Kentucky Senate nomination, and it's unclear if he will listen now to appeals from party leaders. But there is an urgent effort underway to get him away from the cameras and to instill what campaign consultants like to call message discipline. How big of a problem is this? The senior Republican put it this way: if you're asking about this next Friday, you have your answer. So where does Dr. Paul fit on the political spectrum? And is he as controversial on the right as he is on the left? Erickson is a CNN contributor and editor-in-chief of the conservative RedState.com, among Dr. Paul's early backers also. Bob Barr is a former Republican congressman from Georgia and was a Libertarian candidate for president in 2008. That's 20 years after Rand Paul's father, Ron, led the Libertarian ticket. Let's start there, gentlemen, on this Friday evening. And Eric, to you first. A lot of eggshells here in Washington among national Republican leaders, Republican politicians, and even among some Republicans I spoke to today in Kentucky. Should they be on those eggshells?
To a degree, yes, although I've spoken to a couple as well who bluntly were saying that he won this without them. He's probably going to continue on without them. And maybe it's a good thing if he loses so the Tea Party guys will shut up. I think it's a little disappointing to hear that come from a Republican, but that mindset is out there. I do think he needs to use the Jesse Helms strategy, which is to shut up, raise money, and be on TV instead of giving interviews to national press. He's not running a national race. Marco Rubio had this problem for a while with his campaign as well. They've been put on the national stage by a lot of press interest. He needs to focus on Kentucky issues, Kentucky media.
Bob Barr, help me put Dr. Paul in his place on the political spectrum if he has one. Do you consider him a mainstream Republican? Is he more of a libertarian? Is he a Tea Party candidate? And in Kentucky alone, there are at least 14 different Tea Party factions. Do we know where to put him? Is that part of the problem?
Well, he's a little bit of all of the above, John. Clearly, he is being supported by the Tea Party movement, such as it is. I suspect that if one dissected the votes that he received last Tuesday evening, there would be a lot of both mainstream and new Republicans, probably some independents. But the problem is he is a national candidate. He's running for the United States Senate. He's now in the big leagues. And he needs to learn pretty quickly that if you're going to play in the majors, you need to understand the rule book. It's not like it's anything new. It's been out there for a long time. His father has had to deal with it. And I think it's going to be a problem for him if he's going to continue to make statements like this without really carefully thinking them through beforehand.
Let me ask you, Bob, to you first and then to Eric. What has he said that you object to, that you find you either disagree with strongly or you find to be out of the mainstream?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with what I disagree with. The fact of the matter is, when you're asked a question that you can fully anticipate that you will be asked, because these are questions of the sort that he himself has had to deal with earlier in the primary season. They are questions that his father had to deal with constantly. So, he should have anticipated being asked a very simple question about whether or not you support the Civil Rights Act and the ability of an African-American citizen of this country to be able to be served in the same manner as any other citizen. The answer to that is unequivocally yes. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to analyze it. And that's the sort of thing that you don't want to have to explain your answer later on, because it's going to come back to haunt you over and over and over again.
What makes him so different is that he didn't say unequivocally yes or no. What he likes to do is explain himself. And that is refreshing in some ways, and it also can be troublesome politically, because he gave a long answer to that question in which he said essentially essentially there are 10 planks in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I support 9 of them. If I had a chance, if I were there at the time, I might have tried to change one of them that affects a private business. His view seems to be, and I hope I'm being fair, I've read it and reread it, that in the United States, founded on free speech, he believes, Eric, that if you have a private business and you have no public funding and you want to be essentially a racist jerk, you're allowed to be that racist jerk and to bar people from your private property or your private business. Now, he says he abhors racism and he would never support such a business, but he believes it is community pressure, not the federal government, that should come to bear on such a business if it exists. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think that's his point fairly well. And this is a conversation that's very hard to have in a newscast that's divided up into various blocks of various segments. We say all the time, we want a real guy running for office. We don't want a professional politician. We want someone who has the nuance, who takes some time to explain himself. But when we get that, he's immediately labeled a racist because he didn't start his answer with a yes or a no the way he probably should have, because he's not a professional politician. That's a problem for him, but at the same time, are we going to give this guy a second chance? He's what everyone says they've always wanted. The left has loved this guy for years. He's been on a lot of left-wing shows because he doesn't support the war. He's opposed to the Patriot Act. They've loved him until the moment he got the R next to his name Tuesday night officially, and now they've turned on the guy. That's the disingenuous level of politics in America that a lot of people who support Rand Paul hate. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple weeks his poll numbers are actually even higher in Kentucky.
Did you view him, Bob? You're not a Republican anymore per se, but do you think the National Party has a problem here that it needs to deal with?
Well, of course, the National Party can't control every one of their candidates, and I certainly would not want to be a part of any political party that tried to control every one of their candidates. But the fact of the matter is that no matter how bright you are, no matter how your views might resonate with the broad grassroots out there, you have to have, if you're going to participate in organized professional politics, you have to be able to answer questions quickly, succinctly, and clearly, and they have to be of the sort that don't require you to, for days afterwards, try and explain yourself. I mean, that whether he's, disingenuous or genuine in his answers and is just one of the guys or whatnot isn't the point here. When you play in professional politics, you have to be able to answer questions in a way that moves you on and doesn't get you mired in having to explain over and over and over again what you really might have meant but didn't quite say the way you perhaps should have said it, so let me explain it again syndrome.
Are there any reservations, Eric, among those like you who supported him early, any reservations about this?
Say that again, sorry?
Any reservations at all among those on the right like you who said, we don't want the establishment guy, we want new, we want different, and essentially we'll take the risk on a newcomer who, yes, will fall down and make some mistakes. Any reservations at all about him and about future races looking forward?
I've had reservations about Rand Paul all along. I don't agree with him on every issue, and he's certainly a wild card, but I like that about him. I'm not going to agree with him on every issue, but I like the fact that Kentucky's taking a chance on a guy who could go to Washington, and he's not going to be in the pocket of Mitch McConnell or the Republicans or the Democrats or anyone else. He's going to be his own person, governed by his own philosophy, which by and large I agree with. That's the type of people we need to send to Washington.
Bob Barr, Erick Erickson, we appreciate your time on a Friday night. It's a fascinating story in a fascinating election year. We'll keep in touch with both of you. Thank you so much. And a lot of